So first of all, if you think of any other marketing campaign, there's probably dozens, if not maybe hundreds of real estate investors that are mailing, doing
Fair.
PPC, buying
Okay.
the same leads from companies, that type of thing. With TV, there's such a high barrier of entry and a perception. So high
Mhm.
barrier of entry is you gotta script the commercial, you gotta negotiate the rates, you have to, do all those things to get on TV.
Cost and whatnot. Yeah.
Then there's a perceived cost. A lot of people think
Okay.
that it's tens of thousands of dollars a month to do TV.
Mhm.
And so, and people just think their business has to be bigger. There's all these perceptions of TV. Oh, I don't want to be on camera,
Mm.
all those different things, right?
Sure.
And so, the other thing is that TV hits our perfect demographic.
Mm.
So think about the people that are watching TV. People that are watching TV on average are older. They are lower income. And so, people are like, well, isn't streaming taking over? Well, yeah, for the younger generation that is a little bit more online,
Mhm.
and for those that want to spend the money on it. Some people just want to, believe it or not, some people still have antennas to
Mhm.
get TV.
Welcome back to the Pete Podcast, where we discuss the latest in REI tech, trends, and inspiration. I am your host, MJ, and I'm very, very excited to welcome to our show today a special guest, Mr. Tony Javier, who is the founder of 10X TV. So for those of you who are listening in today and you are in the real estate investing space or looking to get into it with various strategies, you are in for a treat because please, please, please pay attention. And Tony's going to walk us through how you can achieve success and scale your business with the help of TV commercials into your marketing channels and streams. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Tony. How are you?
Hi, MJ. I'm great. How are you? I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, doing well, doing well. Really pumped, to be honest, to get to chat with you here, on TV. I think it's a space that is in everyone's lives. It's virtually impossible to think about a screenless existence. And for those of us in the REI space, it is really exciting to think about harnessing it to optimize your business and, get more leads. So tell us a little bit about 10X TV before we go into how you got there. What are you guys up to and what do you do?
Yeah, so 10X TV, we help real estate investors with TV commercials.
Mhm.
So I started TV commercials for myself about 12 years ago. I started investing in 2001. So it was about 11 years in the business before I discovered TV commercials. And it's been the most consistent lead channel that I've had over the last 13 years, really in my whole career. It provides, high quality leads, just so many benefits to TV, right? And so about 5 years ago, yeah, it's been about 5 years ago, I had someone convince me to help others with TV commercials because over the years I've been telling people like, hey, I go to these big masterminds and people are like, oh, well, what are you doing to find deals? And I'd be like, TV commercials. They're like, really? I've never heard of that before.
Mm.
And so for many, many years, I heard that. And finally, someone was like, dude, you need to show people what you're doing. And I'm like, it works in my market. I don't, maybe it works in other markets. When I started in my market, I started with a $3,000 a month ad spend. I made
Mhm.
35,000 my first month, and
Okay.
it just
Wow.
was popping off from there.
Yeah.
And so, um, I kind of resisted helping other people with TV commercials just because I, at that point, had automated my business 5 years before where it didn't need me anymore. And so I was
Mhm.
kind of starting some other things and, busy with some other things. And then finally, I'm like, you know what? Just going to call some real estate investors I know, ask them if we can implement commercials for them. And when I say implement, it's basically taking the formula we've created over the 8 years before. So we
Mhm.
knew what scripts work. We tested many of them. We tested shows. We tested stations. We basically had a franchise-like system that we could plug in for other people. And not only we don't franchise, we call it license, I guess is probably
Okay.
a better term. And we not only can we do that, but we will do the implementation for them as well. So we used our media buyers that helped me get on TV to help launch. And sure as heck, out of the 10 investors that we launched about 5 years ago, I think 8 are still with us. and it popped off just like it did for me for most of those other investors to where, I mean, John, owner of Pete, he, when we got him on TV 4 years ago, I think he said he got like 10 contracts his first month.
Huge.
And,
Yeah.
those
Mhm.
are the bigger numbers. But even if
Mhm.
someone gets, one or two deals their first month, there's a lot of lead channels that take months to really start popping off.
Yeah.
And so, with that proof of concept, we just started going to our communities, going to our
Mhm.
masterminds and saying, hey, we've got something great here. We didn't realize we had it. We've got proof that not only did it work in my market, it's worked in all these other markets. And, word of mouth spreads. And here we are today with over 100 real estate investors running TV with us and
Huge.
creating the credibility, getting the direct ROI. It helps all other forms of marketing. I mean, there's so
Mhm.
many benefits of TV that when someone sees it, if they're already doing deals and they're already doing other marketing, for most real estate investors, it's an absolute no-brainer if they're willing to take the jump.
I love that. And I mean, just what you said right there, what is, excuse me, what's kind of is required to take that jump, right? So for folks that are listening and thinking, well, I want to get on TV. I think this would be a great way to advertise our business and what we're doing. Uh, what's the minimum spend like that you would say for monthly spend on those ads? What's required? How do you guys help walk us through kind of the filming, things of that nature? Like what does that look like, right? To work with 10X, and how do y'all make that success happen for everyone?
Yeah, great question. So, first of all, it's just like any other lead channel in the fact that you have to look at the channel, make
Mm.
sure it's right for your business, make sure you have the budget for it, and then make sure you can commit to it. And so for TV commercials, a lot of people don't do it because a lot of investors don't do it for many different reasons, which is great because it's a high barrier of entry, meaning that like not you can't just like listen to a podcast, buy a piece of software like texting or cold calling, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden the next day just start going out and marketing and finding leads. There are many steps to it. So, in order to be on TV, you have to write the script. You have to know what stations and shows to be on.
Mhm.
You have to have reps that you trust, right? Because I in 2005 called TV stations and I was giving these crazy high rates. I ended up actually trying it for like a couple months, no idea what I was doing, and ended up stopping it. And that was 7 years before I found someone who knew how to do it, which is on my
Okay.
who's on my team now, and they were able to dial it in. And it's kind of like buying it's kind of like buying a house without a buyer's agent. That's what I did in 2005, right?
Yeah.
With
You go. Yeah.
with commercials. I didn't have anybody representing me. So when I
Sure.
called, I think I called one station and then I should assume that if I liked what they had to say, that I should just air with them. Well, what they did
Gotcha.
was they pitched me what they had. They pitched me something that was really expensive, and I didn't get very many commercials, and I was the first real estate investor they'd worked with, so they had
Yeah.
no
So it wasn't
idea.
it wasn't customized to what your needs were, really.
Exactly. I remember
Yeah.
having the conversation with them, and they thought I was going after buyers,
Ooh.
and
Okay.
so I had to
Okay.
educate them, and then all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, so now we help other real estate investors get on TV. So it's kind of like having a buyer's agent for you.
Hmm.
It's having someone on your side to where we can, and it's not just one station you call. Typically, it's five stations you're going to want to call, get
Okay.
rates, and decide if you want to be on all five or if you want to just choose three of them. And you have to know what rates are good, right? Because
Hmm.
if you don't know what you're doing, you could pay a bunch of money for number one, like higher rates for shows you're supposed to be on, or even worse, even if you're getting good pricing, getting on shows and stations that you don't want to be on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had people come to us and be like, "We tried TV," and we're like, and it didn't work. We're like, "Well, show us what you did." And they're buying prime time, they're buying these expensive
Uh,
spots. So
Yeah.
just to give you a context, so back in 2012 when I started, rates are higher now, but it was
Hmm.
$3,000 and I could get hundreds of commercials a month.
Okay.
So back
This
in
was back
2000,
then. Is
this
that
was
right?
back in
Okay.
2012.
Okay.
So 2005, I spent that same $3,000, and I remember getting like it was somewhere between 30 and 50 commercials a month.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so you
I
have
don't
to
know much
know,
about TV, but that sounds great. That sounds like
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, hundreds is a
Yeah.
lot. 30 to 50 is not that many. At
Okay.
that time, I was like, oh, okay, I'm being seen once a day. That sounds good.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds right.
But if your clientele is not watching that show and that station at that time,
Yeah.
whereas if you're on there 30 times a day, 20
Mhm.
to 30, you're way more likely to be seen. And so today, with
Yeah.
rates the way they are a little more expensive. Most markets between 7 and 10,000 a month can get you, 300 to 500 spots a month.
Okay.
And that's assuming that you're calling the right stations, you're getting on the right shows, you're
Yeah.
negotiating the right rates. So that's what we get our clients. And so again, you have to look at, can you afford it?
Mhm.
If you do a direct mail drop, you're probably going to spend at least 3 to 5 grand. A decent direct mail drop is probably going to be 7 to 10 grand anyway, right?
Mhm.
And so to do the math between direct mail and TV commercials, to do direct mail, let's say you spend um, $10,000, you're going to hit about 5,000 people with postcards, 50
Mhm.
cents per
Or yeah,
per
per mailing.
postcard,
Yep.
give or take.
Yep.
If you spend $10,000 on TV commercials, you are going to hit. Oh gosh, let me do the math on this real quick. Basically, it comes out to like 20 to anywhere between 20 and 50 times more people.
Like viewership. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you're hitting mass media.
Yeah.
And so people are like, well, it's not super targeted. Well, it is pretty targeted if you do it right, because if you get on the right
Mhm.
stations and shows.
And at
For
the right
instance,
times, like you
yes.
mentioned. Uh-huh.
Yep. And for instance,
Yeah.
Jerry Springer.
Mhm.
It, that's our avatar. It's lower income. They're at home
Okay.
during the day. They've either
Mhm.
been laid off from a job or they're retired, and they're just watching, Jerry Springer during the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's targeted, but it's not. But even if it's not super targeted, as targeted as like a direct mail or texting or cold calling, if you're hitting 20 to 50 times more
Multiple.
people,
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
So are there I mean I think I'm a little afraid to ask what some of the other shows around that time cuz I'm going to expose myself into the kind of, maybe TV I watched growing up, but I think I might have been one of those those avatars actually. If the Springer show was on there, I'm thinking Judge Judy, I'm thinking, quite a few others. But are there, Tony, you've mentioned a few times, what are kind of the timings of day or evening when you have seen success with these kinds of TV commercials, right? Is it during the day primarily? Is it, you said it's not prime time. Is that correct?
Well, you don't always want to do prime time, and very rarely do you
Okay.
want to do prime time. So
Okay.
let's say someone comes to us in a market. Let's say they come to us from, I don't know, Savannah, Georgia, or something like that, right?
Hmm.
And we look at their market and we're like, okay, you need to spend, $6,000 a month.
Hmm.
We'll go to the stations in that market if we don't already have relationships. We already have relationships in almost every market, so chances are we know the reps there, and we'll go to them and say, hey, here's the budget, here's what we have to offer, here's our formula, here's what we like to have our clients running,
Hmm.
and then they will come back and they will bring us rates. So
Okay.
sometimes, and we'll ask them, hey, if there's any prime time, if there's something like that, you feel like you could get rates, send it to us. And if you know, let me give you some numbers. So if someone comes to us and they're like, we've got TV commercials you can get for $5 a spot, or you can do prime time and you can get them for these other ones for $200 a spot, and sometimes it's even like $1,000 a spot.
Okay.
We would rather take the $5 spots and do 20 times amount of
Cool.
of those
Yeah,
commercials, as opposed to doing a prime time spot that's
that
probably
makes
going to
sense.
hit less people and may potentially not hit our demographic as well.
Mm.
So every market is going to be similar but different.
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's just hard to know what we're going to buy in that market. But we have kind of that formula that we know that is going to work, and then we take the rates and we kind of condense it down. So
Okay.
daytime is really good.
Hmm.
Some people are like, "Oh, I want to hit people." At 5 o'clock when they're watching the news or 9 o'clock when they're watching the news, which if we can get really good rates on that, we'll do that. But usually our demographic is watching TV a little bit more during the day.
Okay. That makes sense. And I guess, if I take a big step back, what what do you attribute the success of this marketing stream to? Why is TV so wildly promising? I guess like what made you take a chance on it? Did you see a commercial at some point, that spoke to you? And even with rates being higher now, why are you seeing the success that you're seeing with
You're
with
you're
kind of
asking some
advertising?
yeah, you're asking some really good questions. So back in 2012, I ran into a guy at a poker game,
Okay.
and I noticed him, and I was like, "Man, that guy's on TV." So I'm an introvert by nature,
Okay.
but I ended up sitting next to him and just started conversation. I was like, "Hey, man, I see you on TV," and he's like, "Yeah." Oh man, his eyes he was a pretty quiet guy like me
Hmm.
by nature. But once I mentioned the TV commercials, I just kind of lit up. He's like, "Dude, we do so much business off that TV commercial." And I didn't expect him to say that. I expected him, if he said anything, to be like, "Oh yeah, we do that for branding, that kind of thing." But he's like, "That is all the marketing we do. We are on a 6 month wait list." He has a construction company, and we
Hmm.
do millions of dollars in revenue from that TV commercial. And that's all we do. He's like,
Wow.
other people see it, they refer their friends, people call us directly. He's just telling me all the benefits of it. And so he connected me with his media buyer who's on my team now. His name's Drew.
Hmm.
And him and Heather are the ones that helped me to get on TV. And then
Okay.
when I launched TV little over 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago for other investors, I brought them over and I said, "Hey, I want you on my team to do this
Sure.
because you've done such a great job for me. I want you to help other people as well." And so that's what made me take the jump, is hearing his story, and then they were able to negotiate some great rates for me to get on TV.
Okay.
And then there's another question you asked. What was the other question there?
Yeah. Where do you think the success from your viewpoint, and having done this for as long as you have, whether it's through the REI space or even you could even kind of go zoom out even further if you want. Uh, where's this success coming from? And I'll just add a little piggyback to that, especially in the day and age of so much social media, so much instant gratification when people are scrolling or looking through their phones. We are living in the age of tech, of AI, of quick, quick, quick. And so, um, how is TV still successful? And why? I want to know where the magic is coming from.
Yeah, so first of all, if you think of any other marketing campaign, there's probably dozens, if not maybe hundreds of real estate investors that are mailing, doing
Fair.
PPC, buying
Okay.
the same leads from companies, that type of thing. With TV, there's such a high barrier of entry and a perception. So high
Mhm.
barrier of entry is you gotta script the commercial, you gotta negotiate the rates, you have to, do all those things to get on TV.
Cost and whatnot. Yeah. Hmm.
Then there's a perceived cost. A lot of people think
Okay.
that it's tens of thousands of dollars a month to do TV.
Hmm.
And so and people just think their business has to be bigger. There's all these perceptions of TV. Oh, I don't want to be on camera,
Mm.
all those different things, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so the other thing is that TV hits our perfect demographic.
Mhm.
So think about the people that are watching TV. People that are watching TV on average are older. They are lower income. And so, people are like, "Well, isn't streaming taking over?" Well, yeah, for the younger generation that is a little bit more online,
Mhm.
and for those that want to spend the money on it. Some people just want to, believe it or not, some people still have antennas to
Mhm.
get TV.
Fair.
And so
Okay.
those are
Yeah.
the people that you love to
Huh.
hit. And so there was a study done not too long ago. I think it was last year. They polled people that were 55 and older that had an income of 100. Is it income? I think it's income in household. No, I'm sorry, income of I think it was like 60,000 or less with households of $150,000 value or less. So basically our
O-
demographic.
Okay.
And 90% of them said that they searched online for something because of a TV commercial. And on average, they said they watched about 2.5 hours of TV, which,
Daily. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
daily, which, when you watch TV, time flies, right? So and you don't know perception of TV. Some people are probably like, oh, I watch it for, a couple hours when really they're probably watching for like 4 hours. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so it's all those things. It's not a lot of investors are doing it. So if you look at like at any market, there's probably 2 to 4 maybe investors that are on
In-
TV in any given market. Some people are like, there's no one in my market. We've had clients where
Interesting.
there's
Yeah.
literally no one in their market. Even for us, it's more competitive because I talk about TV now, and so people in my market know that I do, and people have
Hmm.
tried it. But there, at one point we had like 4 or 5 other competitors, and we were still doing well, and a
Yeah.
lot of them have gone away, and there's probably one or two that have been pretty consistent with it. And
Okay.
so yeah, so if you can figure out how to get on TV, you can do it right, you're gonna get leads that nobody else is getting. There's just so many benefits of TV that if you have the budget, if you're willing to take the jump, and if you don't want to be on TV, you don't have to be. We can hire actors. You
Okay.
can have people on your team potentially in the commercials. Your spouse can do the commercial. You can have other family members do the commercial. We'd like to have a human on the commercials for a human element,
Sure. Yeah.
so that way they feel like they're doing business with people and not just a company.
Not a company, yeah. Well, so I guess to your point, essentially the this advertising channel is not oversaturated yet, is what I hear you saying, and it's hitting your key avatar time and time again, and tenfold or hundredfold, right, or thousandfold, depending on what time it's airing at. So, for you kind of answered the question, but for those folks who are similar to you, and a little bit more introverted, you're saying it doesn't have to be you that's being filmed. So that's kind of nice to hear. When it comes to the actual filming, is 10x, is your company taking care of that? Are you, do you have clients kind of flying out somewhere to meet you guys at a studio, or do you go to them? How does all of that work for those of us that just turn our TV on and then we see this beautiful commercial, but we say, well, how do we get here?
Great
What?
question. So that actually answers your previous question as well. And it's simple, but it's not easy, if that makes sense. So simple means if you have the formula to run through it and you have the time and
Mhm.
energy to do it, it's a great thing to do. So a lot of people don't. So when I was convinced to help other people, I knew that if I just gave them my formula, the chances of them actually doing it, and even if they did it and doing it right,
Mm,
were is going to be slim.
of course, yeah.
So we decided we would do the full implementation. So we do like 90 to 95% of the work. So we know what scripts work well. So we basically take our archive of scripts, we look at the business, and we take those scripts, and then we pick one or two that we think would be good and adjust it a little bit for the team or the real estate company that we're implementing commercials for. We go to the stations, we negotiate the rates. Within about a week or two, usually within a week, we can bring you a schedule and say, hey, here are the rates we negotiated.
Mm,
You just need to approve it. And then if you want to be in the commercial, we set you up at a studio to shoot the commercial. The studio sends us the footage. We edit it. We produce the whole thing, send it back to our client for approval. Usually they approve the first cut. If there's a couple changes that need to be made, we'll make the changes. We submit it
okay.
to the stations, tell the stations to go. And then within 30 days or less, they are on air, getting hundreds of commercials a month and hopefully doing deals pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's great. And Tony, these are for our investors who are listening, who are out there. Do you find that outside of, I think you gave us kind of that minimum ad spend, what you would recommend? You said around 7 to 10,000, right? Is kind of where you'd at least recommend. Was that correct?
For most markets, for
Okay.
some it's way more, and then for
Okay.
some it's actually less. There's some
I
small
see.
markets that it's hard for us to even spend 5,000 just because
Mm,
it's, it's small enough that we get, 1,000 or more commercials, and there's no
sure.
reason to spend more than like 5,000. We even have markets that are like 3 to 4,000 that we
Hey.
feel like are a good
Yeah.
budget. And I love when people come to us in smaller markets because the
Yeah.
ad spend is so low. And if
Mm-hmm.
they do one good deal a month, they're getting like potentially
Good
a 10
return.
times return on their investment. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
huge. Well, and so the question I was going to ask you is, do TV commercials work for investors of all strategies, or have you seen, they're more successful if you're flipping, if you're holding, and is it just investors, or can anyone in the REI space really take advantage of what 10X has to offer, whether you're a contractor or, you're a builder, really like different, kind of touches within the industry.
Yeah, we can do commercials for any industry.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to reach out, we can definitely have a conversation there. For the real estate investor, our perfect avatar is someone like John and Amy Nolan, who own Pete, who are doing deals. They've been in the game a little while. They have multiple strategies,
Okay.
fixing and flipping, keeping as rentals. I think they wholesale as well.
They do, yeah.
So if someone does all three of those, and then there's also novations and other things as well.
Mhm.
So if someone has multiple exit strategies, that helps. If someone is doing other forms of marketing, it helps other forms of marketing. If someone's doing postcards, we have a client that does pretty well with TV, but they're like, man, the impact we've seen, because they spend a lot of postcards out. They're like, the
Okay.
impact we've seen with postcards, even if we didn't do a deal from TV, the impact it's had on postcards is probably worth it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if there's any investors that are doing deals, they're spending money on marketing, they can work the deals, they have multiple exit strategies, it's 100% without a doubt a no-brainer. And
Mhm.
then you can go on down the line all the way to someone doing, we have a client that was doing one deal a month, and he came to us and he's like, I've been trying these other strategies. I don't he was a one-man show, so he was like running the job sites, running the acquisitions appointments. He's like, I just haven't had time to really look at other marketing channels, and I heard about you from somebody else that's doing well with TV. And
Yeah.
so we turned TV on for him, and he added right away a couple deals a month. So he went from
Wow.
one deal a month, maybe two at sometimes, to consistently doing at least 3 or 4 deals a month. So we've at least doubled his business. And
Yeah.
so there's those again that are like the Nolans that are,
Mhm.
doing all these things. And then there's the newer investors that are getting into the business that just want to, figure out how to scale their business, and it can work for them as well.
I love that. So for folks who are listening, regardless of where you're at within your real estate journey and your investing journey, if you are looking to get more exposure, bring more leads in, and really start scaling your business in a serious way, then you do need to get in touch with Tony. You do need to see what 10X has to offer. All the links will be, offered later with this episode. And the last question I have to ask you, Tony, before we sign off is, because you're an investor yourself. So do you enjoy investing or TV and marketing more
Great
at this point?
question.
And you can
Yeah.
always change your answer later, but today, right now.
No, it probably will never change. I love real estate and what it's done for me, financially, get into the game. Gosh, there's nothing easier to build your net worth in real estate. I mean, I started when I was 21. By 23, my net worth was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you just can't, because I was burying properties, and
Mhm.
you can't get that with anything else that I know of, unless you just, happen to strike it rich with a big Instagram page or big YouTube following or something like that. Those
Yeah,
influencers are
yeah.
making tons of money. Um, but I like the marketing side of it. So I only spend about an hour a week, maybe, in my real estate investing business. It's still a great business. I have a great team that runs it, but I spend most of my time on marketing. So doing
Okay.
podcasts, talking about TV, and all of that. So yeah. So if anybody is looking to get on TV,
Mhm.
you can see if your market's available. 10xtv.co. You can go there and apply and see if your market's available. We have about 2 to 3 spots per market. So I
Okay.
encourage anybody, if they're listening here and they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll do that next year, or maybe I'll do that. Like we sell at markets all the time. And so I would definitely, kind of like I did at the poker game, it's like you
Mm-hmm.
get an opportunity, you hear it, and it's just one of those
Jump on it.
things that if you act on it can completely change the game for you.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're listening, don't wait, don't hesitate. The worst that can happen is you get more information, you really learn about your local market, and you could be very pleasantly surprised by what you find out. So, thank you so much, Tony. It's been a pleasure, and it's really exciting and great to hear all the things that 10x TV is up to. I am looking forward to seeing some of these commercials when I tune in later today. So, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, MJ. You asked some great questions, and hopefully I provided some insight for
I
investors.
sure did. Yeah, and I think for anyone listening out there, get on TV. Get on TV and have that start with a conversation here. So, cheers.